The day my uncle and I were about to go public with our relationship, my father sent him on a suicide mission. He promised that if he made it back alive, he would give me the wedding of the century. I turned down every marriage proposal and waited for him for 3 years. He returned covered in scars, limping, and with a missing finger, and knelt before my father. "Boss," he said, "I want the cash and the credit from this job," he said, for permission to marry Chloe. The girl, Chloe, timidly cradled her pregnant belly. My father's eyes instinctively darted to me. Everyone knew I was capable of skinning them alive and raising hell without end. But instead, I simply offered a respectful greeting. "Aunt Chloe." The marriage proposals from the past 3 years were piled in every corner of my room. I just picked one at random and agreed to the marriage. On my wedding day, he crashed the ceremony with a gun. "If you really go through with this," he threatened, "I'll kill him." My father has 7 brothers in arms, and Ethan was the 7th and youngest. He was the most handsome of my 7 uncles and the one I had loved since I was a little girl. My father said that if he had known about us beforehand, he never would have let Ethan leave. Among the 7 of them, Ethan was the most skilled. If he couldn't make it back, sending any of the others would have been a pointless sacrifice. But now, 3 years had passed. "Miss Olivia, he's back. Ethan is back." My eyes flew open and I bolted outside, my feet bare against the cold floor. The butler caught my arm, his voice hesitant. "Miss Olivia." Seeing the look on his face, the words caught in his throat. I knew something had changed. "I understand," I said, grabbing an umbrella and heading out into the rain. I moved so quickly, the hem of my dress was soaked. The entire front hall was crowded with people. My other uncles stood under the covered walkway, their expressions a mixture of resentment and relief as they looked at Ethan. I didn't understand the source of their resentment. "Dad," I said. All eyes turned to me, and the menacing aura around my father finally softened. "What's going on? Why is he kneeling?" Ethan glanced at me for only a moment, his eyes holding the same disinterest one might show a stranger. He bowed his head low to the ground. "Boss, she and the child are innocent. I don't want to cause them any trouble. I'm begging you, and I'm begging Miss Olivia, please grant us your blessing." He bowed his head to the ground again. In that hazy moment, I think I began to understand. A girl about my age walked in cautiously from the rain. Beneath her simple white dress, her belly was swollen with pregnancy. She knelt before my father, her voice choked with tears. My father silently rolled the prayer beads in his hand, saying nothing. Ethan hadn't expected this request to be so difficult. After all, our relationship had never been public. No one was supposed to know. But he had forgotten one crucial fact. If I hadn't confessed my feelings to my father, I would have been married off years ago. I never would have been allowed to wait 3 years for him. Every single person there was now looking at me with pity. I may look sweet and compliant, but my temper is legendary. My 6th uncle came up behind me to offer some comfort. I raised a hand, stopping him before he could say a word. My gaze remained fixed on Ethan. He had aged in 3 years. A deep scar cut across his brow. He now had a limp, and one of his fingers was gone. It was clear his last 3 years had been anything but easy. "Ethan is a hero to the Harrison family," I said. "What sense does it make to have a hero kneeling?" My father waved his hand, agitated, and helped the woman beside Ethan to her feet. "Dad, I believe the 3rd of next month is an auspicious day. Let's arrange for Uncle Ethan and Aunt Chloe's wedding then." My father, a man known for his stoicism, choked back a sob. For a brief moment, my other uncles all lowered their heads in silence. Only the 2 of them, standing in the rain, embraced and wept with joy. Because the 3rd of next month was the date my father had originally set for my wedding to him. My father had picked 3 possible dates for us in total. This was the 3rd and final one. He had said I was bound to make one of them, that I would be able to wait for Ethan's return. Well, I had waited, and the proposal had finally come. But it wasn't for me. Looking at the couple's tear-filled, affectionate eyes, I snapped. "Have you all lost your voices? Congratulate them." The courtyard of bodyguards shouted in unison, "Congratulations, Mr. Ethan, Mrs. Chloe." I opened my umbrella and turned to leave, feeling the weight of everyone's curious stares on my back. My sixth uncle hurried to catch up with me. Olivia, I'm so sorry you're going through this. I pushed open the door to my room, where portfolios from 3 years of marriage proposals were stacked in every corner. Uncle, I asked, out of all these potential suitors, who offers the most strategic value? At the Harrison family's level, any marriage is just a bonus, not a necessity. Fine, who's the best looking? Seeing my uncle's hesitation, I pulled out a portfolio at random. Leo Sterling, perhaps you should reconsider, he advised. Why? A cool voice suddenly drifted in from the window. Because he has a terrible reputation. All he knows is partying. He's clueless about power, strategy, and business. He's the city's most notorious playboy. I looked him up and down, then glanced back at the marriage proposal in my hand. You're much better looking than your picture, I noted. My sixth uncle pointed to the man on the wall. You little punk. How dare you climb the Harrison estate wall? You got a death wish. I shoved the proposal portfolio into my uncle's hands. Uncle, he's the one. Leo Sterling, who had been lounging on top of our outer wall with his legs crossed, sat up straight and studied me. Throughout your business with Ethan Harrison, he said, I'll be back with a wedding party in 7 days to marry you. With that, he hopped down from the high wall. My uncle took a deep breath, his face flushing with anger. He really is a useless punk, my uncle fumed. Not entirely useless, I countered. At the very least, he's well informed. If a supposed good-for-nothing knew about my history with Ethan, then he wasn't a good-for-nothing at all. That evening, I went out to the garden gazebo and found Ethan waiting for me. He sat across from me and, with a single glance, dismissed all the nearby servants. I sipped my tea, pretending to read a financial journal, and asked nonchalantly, Is the baby she's carrying yours? He remained silent. Instead, he peeled a few lotus seeds and placed them in a dish for me. Miss Olivia. Oh, Mr. Ethan, you're here too. My apologies, miss. This is the file you requested. My bodyguard placed the folder on the table without any pretense of privacy. The photograph on top was of Chloe, the girl Ethan had brought home. I leaned back in my chair and lit a cigarette, and Ethan finally broke his silence. I'm the one who wronged you, Olivia. When she came into my life, she made me want something quiet and peaceful. She could wait for me, but her child can't. I have to give them a legitimate name, so the baby isn't born a bastard. If you wanted a peaceful life, you should never have gotten involved with me, I said coldly. Ethan pulled a string of antique coins from his inside pocket. This is what you loved 3 years ago. It took me all this time, traveling everywhere, but I finally completed the set for you. Ethan pressed the coins into my hand, his gaze intense. You think this trinket is enough to make me just let this go? Have you forgotten who I am? Without a moment's hesitation, Ethan dropped to his knees in front of me. I'm sorry, he pleaded. Consider my life yours to take. Just please let her go. I stood up, smiling, and took one last drag from my cigarette. Then I looked around for an ashtray I knew wasn't there. With a look of grim resignation, Ethan held out his open palm. I pressed the glowing tip of the cigarette into his skin until it was extinguished. Then die right now, I said. Ethan stared at me, stunned. Is that how you did it? You charmed that poor girl with your pretty words. I scoffed. Uncle, if pretty words solved every problem, the Harrison family wouldn't be where it is today. I stood and walked toward the main dining hall for the family dinner. My bodyguard hurried after me. Miss, you forgot this. I took my purse from him and saw he was also holding the string of antique coins. They're probably worth something. You can have them, I told him. Thank you, Miss Olivia. In the grand dining hall, my uncles greeted me with warm smiles. I had just taken my seat when Chloe took my hand in hers. Olivia, dear, I hear you and Ethan are very close, and that you listen to him more than anyone. After we're married next month, I hope you'll still visit us often, just like you always have. She smiled sweetly, but there was a defiant glint in her eyes. Olivia, we should exchange numbers for iMessage, don't you think? She pulled out her phone, and the lock screen was a photo of her and Ethan. She suddenly tapped her forehead. Oh, silly me, I completely forgot. I'm actually using Ethan's old phone Olivia. He didn't save any of his contacts with names, so I have to ask which one of these numbers is you. She watched me with a cheerful smile. Across the table, my uncles were already sensing the tension. I glanced at the screen. It was indeed Ethan's old iMessage account. Since she was so eager to know, I didn't mind telling her. What do you mean there are no names? The one saved as Babe, that's me. Chloe's face fell. She hadn't expected me to be so blunt. Her expression soured. You two must have been so close. Is this the conversation? She held up the phone, pretending to show only me, but angling it so everyone at the table could see. The screen was filled with dense blocks of text, all from me, asking Ethan if he was safe, telling him how much I missed him. My phone broke, so I've just been using this one, Chloe said sweetly. Your uncle probably never saw these messages. Should I forward them to him for you? Just then, Ethan walked into the room. I shot a look at my bodyguard. Go on, show it to him. Yes, Miss Olivia. My bodyguard took the phone from Chloe's hand and gave it to Ethan. Ethan glanced at the message history without a change in expression. But then his eyes fell on the string of coins in the bodyguard's other hand, and he froze. Where did that come from? Ethan demanded. Miss Olivia wanted you to see the phone, the bodyguard replied. Not the phone, the coins in your hand. Where did you get them? Miss Olivia gave them to me. I couldn't read the expression in Ethan's eyes. He pulled out the empty chair next to me and sat down. Sitting here might be difficult to explain to your fiancé, I remarked. Not sitting here would be even harder to explain to you, he retorted. He stayed there until the dinner officially began, occasionally placing food on my plate. Just as the meal was ending, he spoke again, his voice low. Why would you give away something you love? I carefully deboned a piece of fish on my plate. Are we talking about the coins? I asked calmly. Or a person? This time, it was his turn to be silent. I could feel Chloe's anger radiating from across the table, and I saw her clench her fists more than once. I didn't care. 3 years later, and you're still just as stubborn, Ethan murmured. It's about time you found a husband to keep you in line. I'm finished. Please enjoy the rest of your meal. I wiped my mouth, grabbed my purse, and left the table. You probably thought I was upset. The truth was his opinion no longer mattered. In all likelihood, I would be married long before he was. Miss Olivia, gentlemen, the butler announced, Mr. Harrison requests your presence in the front hall. After dinner, I turned and headed for the front hall. The vast hall was filled with dozens of large, red chests. There must have been 50 or 60 of them, all tied with red silk ribbons and festive bows. My father sat in the seat of honor, checking items off a long list of bridal gifts. Are all these gifts for me? Chloe asked, covering her mouth in astonishment. There are so many. Ethan smiled gently and stroked her hair. My other uncles began asking about the wedding plans. Have you picked out a dress yet? We're going tomorrow. Good. When you get back, stop by my vineyard, Dad said. You can pick out any wine you want for the reception. Great. Thank you, Uncle, Ethan replied. Listening to them, I almost believed all this was truly for him and Chloe. Then the butler hurried in, beaming. Mr. Harrison, Miss Olivia, Mr. Leo Sterling has arrived. Ethan turned, a confused look on his face. What's he doing here? The Harrisons and the Sterlings hardly ever do business together. Chloe suddenly leaned against the wall, gagging. Ethan, I don't feel well. I'll take you to the restroom. Before they left, Ethan spoke to my sixth uncle. If Dad asks, just tell him Chloe felt sick. I'm taking her to the washroom. All right, go on. Leo entered with his entourage, dressed in a striking red suit. He caught my eye and gave me a playful wink. My father greeted him with a broad smile. Leo, come in, have a seat. What are the Sterlings doing here? And why does Dad look so happy? My second uncle muttered. Do you know what's going on? He asked the third. All of my uncles, except for the sixth, were completely bewildered, forcing smiles as they tried to figure it out. Olivia has chosen to marry Leo Sterling. My sixth uncle explained quietly. They're here to formally propose. Olivia chose him, but I thought she... After a moment of stunned silence, they quickly turned to congratulate the Sterlings. Want to take a walk? Leo asked. Sure. He led me out to the back gardens. It was his first time at the Harrison estate, and he looked around with genuine curiosity. A woman's raised voice drifted from nearby. Ethan, what did I do wrong? She's a spoiled princess with the entire Harrison family behind her. But what about me? What about our 3 years together? She's doing this on purpose, and I can't just stand by and take it. If she were really doing it on purpose, came Ethan's tired reply, you would never have had a chance to marry me in the first place. Don't bring this up again. Leo suddenly stopped walking. He turned to look at me, a mischievous, amused glint in his eyes. Feeling tired? Let's take a seat, he suggested. He headed for a stone table nestled in a grove of black bamboo. I knew he wasn't tired. He just wanted a front row seat for the drama. Ethan, why did you change the second you came back? Chloe's voice was sharp. Ever since you returned to this house and saw Olivia, you've been acting so strange. Are you just humoring her because you're afraid of her father? Or are you still not over her? Ethan fell silent. I looked down at my phone, scrolling through the wedding dress designs Leo had sent over. His taste was surprisingly good. Then Ethan's voice, flat and emotionless, cut through the air. I don't have feelings for her. She's my niece. Don't lie to me. I saw you yesterday. You were staring at Olivia's picture. I slammed my hand down on the stone table. The sharp crack made both of them jump and look over in our direction, their faces filled with alarm. The man sitting across from me, ever the instigator, couldn't resist. Oh, what exactly was Mr. Harrison doing with Miss Olivia's photograph? He called out. I shot Leo a warning glance, and he immediately clamped his mouth shut. Olivia, Chloe stammered. Uncle Ethan, if you can't control your fiancée, that's your business, I interrupted. But if a single word gets out that could embarrass the Harrison family, my father will personally step in to clean up your mess. Ethan didn't respond to me. Instead, he fixed his glare on Leo. The fact that Olivia is even speaking to someone like you shows how far she's fallen these past 3 years. Leo just laughed. Maybe Miss Harrison has a soft spot for my type. Ethan shot me a confident look. She's been proud and demanding since she was a child. She only wants the best, the strongest. A city playboy like you could never measure up in her eyes. Leo just raised an eyebrow and nodded. It's no wonder my father always says you should never speak in absolutes. I took Leo's arm and started walking back. I showed him a design on my phone. This one, I said. Let's go with this one. You've decided? He asked. Yes. All right, I'll have it custom, made to measurements, and sent over. I agreed, and we continued our stroll through the gardens. Soon, a car from the Sterling family arrived to pick him up. By the time he left, red lanterns were already being hung outside our main gate. When I got back to my personal courtyard, staff were rolling out a long red carpet. The courtyard next to mine was Ethan's. Change your dress, I heard him say. What? Chloe's voice was plaintive. You always said you love me in white. I love vibrant colors, but because you said you liked white, I've worn nothing but white for 3 years. I froze, completely unable to move. I was the one who loved white. Back in my room, I stared into my closet in a daze. Every single item hanging there was white. I couldn't begin to fathom what game Ethan was playing. But the answer didn't really matter anymore. The walls of the estate houses weren't very thick, and I fell asleep to the sound of their arguing. Leo had my wedding dress delivered the day before the ceremony. Ethan also showed up at my door the night before my wedding. Can I come in? He asked from the doorway. It's late, Ethan. That's not a good idea. He smelled of alcohol. After a moment of silence, he ignored my objection and walked in anyway. He sat down at my bar and instinctively reached for the red wine I used to keep. His hand closed around a bottle of whiskey instead. He frowned slightly. When did you switch to whiskey? People change in 3 years, I said, sitting on the other side of the counter with a freshly mixed cocktail. Ethan took a long drink straight from the whiskey bottle. His coordination was already starting to fail him, but in the dim light, his eyes were unerringly clear and sober. He took my hand, his own arm trembling as he slowly raised it. He pressed my fingertips to the scar on his brow. Why haven't you asked how I've been these past 3 years? He whispered. I traced the raised line of skin. With Chloe by her side, how could things possibly have been bad? You certainly went to great lengths to marry her, Uncle. They told me the 3rd of next month was supposed to be our wedding day. Is that true? My laugh was devoid of warmth. You already knew the answer before you came here to ask. I pushed his hand away. That date is yours now. You should go. I'm not in the mood for company. He finished the bottle and staggered out of my rooms. My wedding is off for now, he called back. I will never get married on that day. I shut the door, leaving the heavy scent of whiskey to dissipate in the air. Whatever he had to say tonight, it was too late. At dawn, my own wedding procession would arrive, and as drunk as he was, he probably wouldn't even be able to attend. No sooner had he left than my hair and makeup team arrived. By the time they were finished, it was time. Leo was here to pick me up. As I stepped out my courtyard, I found Chloe waiting, watching me with a look of great amusement. So, today's your wedding day. Well, congratulations are in order. Her smile was infuriating. Your dear uncle had a bit too much to drink last night, she purred. I'm afraid he won't be able to see you off. I walked right up to her. She raised an eyebrow, her expression smug. Tell me, Olivia, she said, her voice dripping with false sweetness. Do you think a woman who lusts after her own uncle can ever find true love or a happy ending? I raised my hand and slapped her across the face. Everyone present, the wedding party, the bodyguards, even my two uncles who were there, silently turned their backs to give us privacy. You? How dare you? She was stunned that I would strike her in front of so many people. The Harrison family status affords me this temper. It would be difficult for me to have a bad life, even if I tried. But you, on the other hand, are unlikely to meet a happy end. You're insane. Everyone is watching. I'm your aunt, she shrieked. Publicly assaulting a senior member of the family is a grave offense. I'll concede that, I said, but you seem to have forgotten something. Without my blessing, you would never have been allowed through the Harrison gates, let alone marry Ethan. You haven't even had a wedding yet. So what kind of aunt are you? You think that nameless child in your belly gives you the right to stand here and challenge me? That baby might be a Harrison by blood, but it will never be a Harrison by name. Olivia Harrison, you hit me. Ethan will make you pay for this. I slapped her other cheek just as hard. I'm very interested to see exactly how he'll make me pay. I snapped my fingers. Let's go. My fifth uncle turned back to me. It's your wedding day. Be happy. Don't let a few words ruin it. I'll deal with her for you later. I patted his shoulder. Thanks, uncle. You've always got my back. Outside, Leo was pacing anxiously in front of the limousine. When he saw me, he forgot all about proper etiquette, yanking open the car door and pulling me inside. I was starting to think you'd gotten cold feet, he said, relieved. Hey, we haven't finished the traditional send-off, my uncle protested. Leo squeezed in beside me. Apologies, uncles, but we're skipping the formalities. We need to get going before someone decides to crash this wedding. Leo urgently told the driver to go. He was drinking last night, I started to say, and even if he were sober, he wouldn't. Leo held up a hand to stop me. Don't be so sure. I didn't mind skipping the formalities, to be honest. A few minutes later, my phone rang. It was an unknown number. When they called the second time, I answered. Hello, Olivia. Do you have a minute? It was Ethan. No, I was just woken up by all the noise outside. Someone told me it was your wedding day. You really need to manage your staff better, letting them spread such ridiculous rumors. I cut him off. It's not a rumor. I am getting married today. Would you like to come for a celebratory drink? The other end of the line went completely silent. I glanced down at my phone, thinking the call had dropped. The line went dead. As our car started up the winding mountain road, my sixth uncle called. Olivia, Ethan just took off after you. We tried to stop him, but we couldn't. He shouldn't be able to catch you. Okay, I understand. 5 minutes later, my fourth uncle called. Olivia, his car is fast. I couldn't block him. He's already passed the Oak Ridge Pass. 3 minutes after that, my second uncle called. Olivia, he's reached Eagles Gate. A minute later, my eighth uncle, the youngest, called. Olivia, he just blew through the security checkpoint. I think he's just... As he spoke, a battered SUV came tearing down the mountain road in front of us. Uncle, I said calmly into the phone, I see him. Dust and sand filled the air. The SUV kicked up a thick cloud of yellow dirt that billowed like fog, obscuring the road ahead. When the dust finally settled, a familiar figure was standing in front of our limousine. I turned and squeezed Leo's hand. I promise to marry you, and I will see it through. Leo sighed. I know this is just going to be a hassle. He opened his door, and we both got out of the car. Behind Ethan's calm expression, I could see a storm of fury brewing in his eyes. "So, it really is you," he said with a bitter, self-mocking laugh. "You're really marrying him. Is there a problem?" I asked. Ethan came forward and grabbed my arm. "You're still so young. How could Dad let you do something so reckless? Marrying a man like this? Come back with me." I wrenched my arm free, disgusted by his touch. "I'm the same age as Chloe, and she's already pregnant. You still think I'm too young. There's nothing wrong with Leo. I don't care about the rumors. But if you want my opinion, you're far more repulsive than he is." After 3 years, Ethan's mind was more inscrutable than ever. There was a terrifying intensity in his eyes. "You want to know about Chloe? I barely survived that mission. I crawled out from a pile of bodies and lay bleeding in a cave for 7 days, waiting to die. Then she found me. She saved me. She was wearing a white dress that day, and in my delirium, I thought she was you. That's the only reason I found the will to live." His voice trembled with suppressed emotion, the corners of his eyes red. My vision was damaged. By the time I could see clearly again, she was already pregnant. I had no choice. I thought I could make a life with her. But then I saw you again, Olivia, and I realized I had completely underestimated how much I love you. He painted a vivid picture, but his story only made me feel sick. The Harrison family has one rule above all others. We don't care about the process, only the result. "Please, just come back with me for now," he begged. "I'm asking you." Ethan's gaze turned murderous as he looked at Leo. "I will never let you marry a man like him. Never." He drew a pistol and aimed it at Leo's head. "Either you come back with me willingly, or I kill him and drag you back." I had to admit, I was impressed with Leo. His calm composure didn't seem like an act. Most people wouldn't be so nonchalant with a gun pointed at their head. But he just stood there, hands in his pockets, a slight, unbothered smile on his face. He made Ethan and me look like the lunatics. I moved to stand in front of Leo, shielding him. Ethan let out a frustrated breath. "Olivia, you're driving me insane." The next moment, Leo pulled me behind him. Stepping in front of me, he tapped his own temple. "Well, Mr. Harrison, are you going to shoot? If not, we have a wedding to get to." Ethan raised the gun several times, but he couldn't bring himself to pull the trigger. He looked at me, his expression utterly broken. Men began to file out of the 2 SUVs parked behind him. Ethan pointed at me, his voice firm. "Bring her to me. Tie her up if you have to." "Yes, sir," they responded. Leo held up his hands in a placating gesture, his eyes scanning them. "You all work for the Harrisons. You eat their food. You live under their protection. Ethan might survive laying a hand on a Harrison, but what about you? Think very carefully. You know Mr. Harrison's temper better than anyone." As the bodyguards hesitated, Leo turned his attention back to Ethan. "You know she gave you a chance, don't you? The day you came back, the entire Harrison household was waiting for you to propose to Olivia. Instead, you chose to ask for some other girl's hand. A man as smart as you should have known to leave that girl behind, settle things with her later, and come home with your record. Marrying into the family would have secured your future completely. Let's say I let you take her now. Then what? You go back to the Harrison estate. You can't force this, Ethan. You can't win. And more importantly, she doesn't want to go with you. And if she doesn't want to go, no one on earth can make her." Leo's driver got out of the car. "Sir, your father sent a reminder that the ceremony is scheduled to begin soon." Leo opened my door for me. "Any time I get to marry her is the perfect time." I got in the car, and Leo shut the door behind me. "I'll keep what happened here today quiet, for your sake," he told Ethan. "If you change your mind and want to come for a drink, you're more than welcome." Leo walked around to the other side, glancing at his phone before getting in. He raised an eyebrow slightly. "What is it?" I asked. He just shook his head and nodded to the driver. "Let's go." He turned to me. "Looks like Ethan won't be making it after all." He paused for a moment. His little fiancée must have heard what was happening. The shock sent her into premature labor. They're on their way to the hospital now. I glanced in the rearview mirror and saw Ethan answer his phone. His face paled before he scrambled into his car and sped off. It looked like he was heading back toward the estate. "You get your news fast," I remarked. "I manage," he said. Leo's network was far more extensive than I had ever imagined. It was possible he had eyes and ears everywhere. I just smiled and didn't press the issue. When we arrived at the venue, white doves were circling overhead. A spectacular fireworks display lit up the sky for a full hour. Amidst a final, glittering cascade of lights, I took Leo's arm and we walked onto the main platform. I don't know how a guy like Leo Sterling got so lucky, marrying the only daughter of the Harrison family. Look at him, the useless bum. Can't even show up to his own wedding on time. What good is he, that guy? Before they could finish, Harrison family bodyguards covered their mouths and dragged them away. I glanced at Leo. I was beginning to understand how he'd earned his reputation. The rest of the wedding went off without a hitch, and Leo moved smoothly between tables of business associates. I changed into my reception dress to join him for the toasts. "You should go rest," he told me. "Aren't we supposed to make the rounds together?" "I can handle it. Won't people talk? Your father is the head of the Harrison family. Who would dare say a word against you?" I nodded. "What about you? Won't they talk about you? My reputation can handle it. Go on, get some rest. I'll come find you in a little while." I nodded again and went to sit with my parents. My mother took my hand. "Sweetheart, why are you sitting down?" "Leo told me to rest, that it's been a long day." "Oh, what a thoughtful son-in-law. He shouldn't be drinking so much either. He'll make himself sick." "Leo, dear." My mother waved him over, and Leo immediately jogged to our table. "Come sit with us, honey," she said to my father. "You can introduce Leo to everyone later." My father nodded in agreement. "To all of Olivia's uncles," Leo said, raising his glass. "I hope I can count on your guidance in the future. Thank you all." He went down the line, toasting every one of my uncles except Ethan, who wasn't there. My father was clearly very pleased with his new son-in-law. He pulled Leo away to introduce him to some important guests. I stayed behind, eating and listening to my uncle's good-natured teasing. My mother nudged me and lowered her voice. "Your Uncle Ethan spoke to your father last night. He canceled his wedding and said he wouldn't use that date. And we just got word from the hospital. Chloe had a scare, but they managed to save the baby. Your father thinks it's best to set them up in a house out in the country. So they won't be coming back to the main estate to bother you." "Good," I said. I looked across the room and found Leo, who caught my eye and gave me a playful wink. I smiled to myself. It takes courage to make a choice. Sometimes you have to choose for yourself what fate won't give you. Obsession is a prison of your own making, a fire you feed yourself. I refuse to be trapped in that kind of spiral. I made my choice, and for better or for worse, I will accept the consequences.